The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint, Fanatics of Ocean City, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.
Well, again, we've got east, northeast, easterly winds, heavy swell, but with that, finally comes word of some good stripers. When I say good, I'm talking in the 20-pound class. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. I'm here at the Tackle Box in Hazlitt along the north coast of New Jersey, where this week Phil sent me a photo earlier in the week. He sent this shot of 9-year-old Jack Killian with a 28-pound striper that he caught on a tsunami popper while fishing with St. Croix pro staffer Rob Radloff. Of course, we've talked about this. Those stripers, they're moving north to south, so you expect to get the first early reporting of some of those big stripers along the north coast before they move south. Talking to Phil here this week too, I mentioned a tsunami popper. It should be no secret. If you watch this video every week, last week we talked about it, that tsunami talking popper, that XD popper, that's exactly what Jack caught that 28-pounder on. And we're hearing more of that. Phil said especially the yellow. He said for whatever reason this week the fisherman turning on to yellow, and he's had a lot of fish plugged up along the Sandy Hook, North Jersey surf. A lot of them are smaller fish, but it's better action finally, so that's good news. So make sure you stock up, go to your local tackle shop, see what's working for those stripers in the wash. Those folks won't steer you wrong. Aaron Chichia also checked in this week. He had a 42-incher while fishing on the Jersey Pirate. No additional details except that he was using a mojo on the troll. Now, in our report section this week, we did find that the Shrewsbury rocks were starting to give up more stripers on the troll, so it's definitely time to go back into that wire line and gear, pull out those mojos, pull out those big bunker spoons, and of course your stretches and your Rapalas, those Rapala deep divers. Art Berkman, he checked in with me this week. He's been lighting up the stripers in the back bay up in North Jersey. He's not telling me exactly where, but he's been doing a number on it. Wednesday, actually, he said Wednesday morning was an insane bite throwing those plastics. The one thing that he recommended, he said he's been using Swing Impact Fat Kitex 5-inch plastics. They're on a silver flash or the slight flash. He's been throwing them on 1/4 and 1/2 ounce jig heads. He said the ticket is to cast out, let them sink, reeling nice and slow. So hopefully there's a lot more of that bait in the back as well. So those plastics are definitely doing a job. That's exactly what worked for young Jax DeCellis here, throwing those plastics in North Jersey. Now, out front, we mentioned the heave. Of course, in the soup, you might consider throwing the bucktails with a pork rind or the otter tail. Of course, fresh clam and mullet is definitely going to be a direction you go. Clam especially when we've got a good heave from the northeast. Luke from Fisherman's headquarters, though, right before he went to college this past Sunday, he was out in the LBI surf with a North Bar bottle darter. North Bar bottle darter. Keep saying that. Try to say that 15 times. All right. And so that's a good sign, although by midweek, that LBI Surf Classic still had not had a registered striper. And they've got some really big cash prizes for the first fish that is weighed in that contest. Most of the Central and South Jersey bite has been on the tog. The canal bite, the jetties, the back sedges, of course, are producing, giving up lots of togs. Some folks are telling me it's the best inshore tog fishing they've seen in a long time. Of course, in New Jersey, we've only got that one tog limit through November 16th, but there are certainly quite a few of them to be had. Fish are small, but enjoy the action there. Noel, down at One Stop Bait and Tackle in Atlantic City, he says the T-Jetty is absolutely on fire. Folks using the green crabs down there at the T-Jetty have been lighting them up. Tog up to 18 inches, so definitely some keeper class there, and we're all waiting for that November 16th opening when we get back in there on the higher bag limit. If we continue to push a little farther to the south, down in Delaware, the outer wall in Delaware is producing tog. They've got a bigger bag limit on tog down in Delaware. They're also catching some triggerfish and sheepshead along that outer wall there in Delaware. Mike Benny from Rick's Bait and Tackle, he checked into Lewis Harbor Marina just the other day and had those triggers and sheepshead while tog fishing as well. I'm hearing the same thing in Central and South Jersey as well. Guys anchored up along the sod banks trying to get into that one tog limit, also hooking up with a couple of nice sized sheepshead as well. Tough fighters and a very tasty fish as well. Now the good news that we get in the last week comes from the Big Jamaica, who says the yellowfin arrived at the Hudson Canyon over the weekend. The bad news, of course, is the 6 to 10 foot swells we've got out there through this weekend. Probably not a good opportunity to get out there offshore until sometime next week. Of course, by next week, all eyes are going to be on the inshore grounds. Anyway, we get that black sea bass reopening in New Jersey and Delaware next Saturday, the 22nd. A lot of folks are going to be out there looking for those black sea bass. This is also a good time for you folks on the freshwater grounds. Lake Hopatcong has been producing some good hybrid striped bass action. You know, that cross between white perch and striped bass. Chris Pereira checked in with me this week, said he and a buddy were using chicken livers, had 33 hybrids in just about 3 hours of fishing. So if you've never had that opportunity, get up there on places like Lake Hopatcong. Fall season is absolutely outstanding for those hybrid stripers. I will also say this, from our reports this week in the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, in addition to the Dreamboat bluefish, the mud hole is also holding some giant bluefin. Now, the folks that we've talked to haven't caught any yet, but they're marked on the fish finder. Those guys are looking to try to get down and see if they can't score with one of those giant bluefin that are out there. So as seas subside sometime next week, I'm sure a lot of folks are going to be out there looking for those tuna, whether out offshore at the Hudson, inshore closer to home for those bluefin, of course, for that black sea bass opening next Saturday. You subscribers, log into thefisherman.com. You can get access to this week's edition of the Fisherman magazine, as well as our New York and our New England edition. And as you read the reports and sketch out what you're going to do for this weekend, we will see you next week and hope to hear from you with your successful reports from the water at thefisherman.com.
The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint, Fanatics of Ocean City, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.